unexplainable. Lemonade and match. It's unexplainable. It's unconditional. It's unforgettable. Unstoppable. So intentional. It's so invitable. Indescribable.
Welcome to his
and her perspective.
And here at His and Her Perspective, we find common ground to harmonize relationships. And we do that by having conversations like we're going to have today. Today, we're going to talk about, is love a natural disaster? Sounds a little oxymoronish.
Yeah, it's deep. That's deep.
It is going to be deep.
Disaster. That's heavy.
That is heavy. So if you're looking at us right now, make sure that you are telling us who you are. Say hi to us so that we can say hi back to you. And make sure that you're giving us the heart. Tell us that you love us and stay with us for a while. Also, go ahead and type into the comment section a friend or 10.
Yep, tag a friend. Tag a friend.
Just go ahead, tag some friends in this post so that you can go ahead. We can get some more people on here with us. And let's see who's with us today. We've got, hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
What's up, family?
Uh-oh. Hey, Desi, how you doing?
My lovely other half. What's happening, darling?
Yarly over at the bakery.
Always making the donuts, my man.
Yes. You got Bernard Brown. Thank you so much.
Peace, fam. How you doing, brother?
He is the host of After Dark with Bernard Brown. Go ahead and check him out over there, y'all.
Yeah, we might need to slide through.
Slide through over there. Listen.
After this show, though. After this
show. Right. We don't know when your show. When does your show start? Do you know when his show starts?
I don't know, man. Put the time in there, Bernard. Tell us what your date and time is. Your date and time.
Yeah, Yarley's over here singing "Love Gonna Get You, Love Gonna Get You."
Boogie Down Productions. That should have been the theme music. That should have been the background music when we came in today.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good. How you doing today, brother?
Pretty good. Pretty good. You looking well. You looking lovely as usual. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. You as well. You as well. So he says he comes on Friday at 10:30. Go ahead and check him out on Friday at 10:30, y'all. We're gonna have to check you out.
Man, that's all right. Yeah, we're gonna slide through.
Yeah, we'll come and check you out. So listen, this is gonna be good. We are talking about a subject that a lot of people believe that they know about, but we're gonna lighten up some things and show some things and see what you agree with or disagree with us. Make sure that you please tag in with us, engage with us. Let us know what you think about these comments. I want to start out with talking about, like breaking down our topic. What do you think, brother? Can we do it that way?
Why you put it on me? All right. I thought it was ladies first.
Oh, well, now I'll start, but I'm sure? I can start.
I wouldn't want you to do the heavy lifting.
Oh, no. I'll go ahead and do it because I was prepared to do it. I was,
Right.
So love, of course, we talked about this, y'all, I wish that you all could hear some of the conversations that Vaun and I have while we're preparing for these shows. We need to just always have a mic on and just record because these conversations are real good and they're heavy. And so love, let's talk about love first. Do you guys think, and what do you think, brother? Do we look blurry?
Somebody say, is it just me? Y'all look blurry. Not to me.
Let me clean my screen. I think.
I don't know. Anybody else? Do we look blurry to anybody else? Let us know.
Thank you so much, Bernard. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Bro.
So love. Brother, do you believe that love is natural? Or do you think that it's something that we learn?
I don't think that love just naturally flows out of the heart in the way that people tend to see it. I think it's natural to seek, even if you just take a look at a child, an infant, that child doesn't really know love in the context that we speak it. It knows that it's clinging to safety and security in mom and dad, right? But as far as these ideas of how I feel about you, I don't think that that's, she said it all cleared up. Okay, cool. I don't think that they naturally have these feelings until, not feelings again, because the ideas, thought precedes action, right? So the ideas have to be implanted, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
And then I think the child begins to walk in alignment with what it's taught love means.
I could smoke a bag of that if I smoked.
All right, well, roll it up and pass it to me then. I don't
You
smoke either.
know,
I don't smoke. I'm just playing.
you, for those who don't know us, we just joking. So Yarley says that love is not a disaster. It can be if it's not properly controlled. Love is a verb, an action word. It's formless like water. Be water, my friend.
Hey, we're coming through sounding like Yoda.
Right. I think, and I'm going to go to, because this is the conversation that Vaun and I had. We talked about the word natural, and we were talking about two different instances in what natural is. Natural meaning that you were wired that way, created in the womb that way, and then natural like, that's a natural response because of whatever the cause or the effect was.
Right.
So I'm gonna go. I think he just this way. He just kind of, it really did that. Even with talking about how, the environment is what helped the child do that. So I personally think that we were wired to love.
Okay.
But our environments created us not to. So I think that I think that we were created that way. We were designed that way. We have the propensity to love. So that doesn't mean that just because we're capable of doing so that we do it. You see what I'm saying?
Not yet.
Okay.
Keep going.
So if we have the propensity, going to the word, right? The word says that we were born into sin and shaped into iniquity, which means we have the propensity to be anything. We could be murderers, rapists, we can be the biggest hearts, we can be anything, but our environments, like you said earlier, shaped us to who we're going to be. But I believe that we have the propensity to love full out if we're given the environment, like you said, to do so.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I can puff on that.
You can puff on that.
Yeah.
Bernard says that love is great. If you are loving the right person, it's from the heart. Now, let's talk about that because, science says that we don't love with our hearts.
Ooh, good topic. Let's go.
Science says that we love with our brains. Because our brains tell us what to feel. If we feel hurt, if we feel good, if we feel happy, if we feel excited, we love with our brains. Our hearts, the only function, according to science, is to pump the blood through the body. What's your thought about that, brother?
Now, there is, without me digging too much into research and bringing stuff up, because I wasn't prepared for that question, but there is an idea out here, y'all can Google this, that the heart actually has its own brain, its own intelligence system, right? And so this idea that love comes out of the heart, again, I say that it is trained into the heart, but I think that those feelings ultimately this is why they call it a heartache or heartbreak. Like you feel it in your chest when it goes bad, right?
Right.
And I'm saying that the heart has its own intelligence, and you can call it a brain, if you will, just like they say your gut has its own intelligence, right? There are more neurons in the lining of the stomach than there are in your spinal column and in your brain.
Yeah.
And this is why they call it the second brain. And this is why when you get these feelings or this intuition, sometimes this is why they call it a gut instinct.
Feeling,
right?
yeah.
You have also heart instincts.
Yeah.
So I With that, I'm saying that I think you actually do. The brain is the central nervous system, right? This is where much of the thinking takes place, or the functioning takes place. But the mind is the totality of all the senses. I'm not trying to get too nerdy on y'all, but the mind is the totality of all of the senses, right? Feel, touch, taste, hear, smell, all that. So the heart for how, so as far as how we feel, I would say that the heart would be the central system for that. What do you think?
Well, I think that I agree with that simply because, the word says the heart can be deceitful, and what comes out of the heart is what you really feel. So it has to have some type of functioning power to be able to tell us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I believe that. Science is always trying to disprove anything that has to do with the spirit. So
Mm-hmm.
Antonio says, "Hello, how are you?" And love comes from within and comes out to a person, place, or a thing. Okay, so listen. Do you believe that there is a difference between having love, being in love, and feeling love?
Yeah. Well, when you say, well, being in love is this kind of euphoria, right? The honeymoon phase, you still got the butterflies and the early onset butterflies. I think I would describe that as being in love. And so how you apply love over the duration of your relationship will determine whether or not you're able to sustain those feelings of being in love, right? So I think that's what, to me, that's what in love means. The other one you said, what was the other one? To
Having
love and
love,
be loved.
having love, being in love, and feeling love.
Yeah. So having love, I mean, you can love even an inanimate object. So you can love a pet. That's not the same thing as being in love with the person.
Right.
But you can, I think it takes a similar capacity to love a pet that it does to love a child or a person. Being in love is something different, though. And you would like to think that, well, ideally, the scenario where in love exists, it would be some reciprocity there,
Yeah.
right? Because we are in love, not just I'm in love and you don't even like me,
Right.
right?
So you don't think that people can be in love by themselves?
No, you can, but that's why I said ideally there's a scenario where we are in love rather
Right.
than you
Right.
in love with me, or I'm in love with you, but you don't give a damn about me.
Right. Right. And I think that depending on, because the reason why I brought that up is because of Antonio says that comes out to a person, place, or thing. Some people love their stuff more than they love the person. They will fight you over things, kill over things, kill over money. Love of money is the root of all evil. People, the word says, but I think that people, I think that the reason why people express the differences in those things, because I think that the only difference between being in love and feeling love is the person, the type of person, not necessarily the person, but the type of person, being it romantic or familial or just a friend. Because when you're in love, whether it is in love with your child, in love with your spouse, in love with your friend, you're going to do and be different because of those things. So I think that the only thing to me is the difference in who the person is.
Okay, let me add a little salt on that. Not
Okay.
salt,
A little
sauce.
sugar, a little, little,
Not sauce.
little sauce.
I think that being in love, you can meet somebody in a weekend and you can develop those feelings where you feel like you're in love inside of a week, right? I mean, these are just feelings. right? You don't really have to do anything, or you don't have to do much except for have a shared or common sentiment to be in love.
Right.
It's just part of it, right? I think to love somebody, though, I think Yarley said it earlier. He said that it's much more about what you're willing to do for that person, what you're willing to, the sacrifices you're willing to make, the compromises that you're willing to make. How far are you willing to go? What are you willing to do or not do for the other person or on behalf of the other person? That's what it means to love someone. Are you thoughtful of that person? Are you practicing some level of reciprocity? Right? Are you? I got all this stuff on my book. I don't even know the stuff, but you get what I'm saying, right? These are what I call the conditions of love, where you're practicing, complementarity, or you're coexisting in a complementary based or complementarity based relationship. These are uh, the idea of loving someone is a practice. It's a thing that you're doing, not just a matter of being, which is what I would call in love. Just be in love is just being, existing in the moment. You haven't made it. You don't have to have made any sacrifices for nobody. You ain't had to make no real compromise. I just met you at the club, but it feels great. We in love,
Right.
right? But 6 months from now, am I gonna still feel that way? Well, man, you ain't never where you said you gonna be. You don't never do what you said you was gonna do. I was hungry. You ain't even think enough of me to bring me something to eat. Like, and I bought you something for your birthday. My birthday came and you just slid right past mine. No reciprocity, no thoughtfulness, no compassion. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's different.
There's
Look at my
actually a study that says that the euphoric feeling that you have from falling in love only lasts 12 months. That the
uh
first 12 months of the honeymoon stage of you,
okay.
that total blind euphoria feeling
Yeah.
only lasts 12 months. That after you start to develop, I believe he said, the filial love, where you start to then respond to more of the doing than just the feeling.
Okay. I can rock with that. I guess that's probably an average time frame. So some people more, some people less, but right
Yeah.
around a year. Look, look,
Yeah.
look,
What does
look
it
at the
say?
look at the lady alchemist coming through. She say, yes, the heart has a little brain, intrinsic cardiac nervous system. The heart brain is composed of approximately 40,000 neurons that are like neurons in the brain. The heart has its own nervous system. Come on now, love alchemist. Appreciate you, lady
Come
alchemist.
on now. All
Come
right
through.
now. The heart has a little brain.
And y'all learned
It
something today
makes
from
sense to me because the word tells you that it can be good and it can be bad.
me.
And if you can't, if it doesn't have a brain, if it can't make those decisions, then how could it be good or bad?
Mm, mm.
So Yarley says love is an artificial emotional response to an environmental stimuli that brings one pleasure, not joy. Now that's good.
Let me read that real slow. Hold on. Love is an artificial emotional response to an environmental stimuli that brings one pleasure. Is it artificial?
Now the reason why I hung on to what he said is because if you're not doing like you said earlier, is it really love
Right.
or
So
is
then
it
let's
some other thing?
so then if you flip that and you say, okay, if somebody is doing, then is it artificial?
Then I don't think it's artificial because you've made it a reality by doing.
It's a real thing, right? I'm responding to something that's actually happening that I actually feel good about. Then that wouldn't be artificial. I would say that would
And
be
not just feel good, because this is the thing. A lot of our feelings, depending on where they've come from and how they've been developed, can be a little misleading. And that goes to that environment of how we were raised. If you weren't raised in a loving, nurturing environment as a child, you can think love is abusive. because of what it
Mm.
feels like.
Yeah.
So I don't like necessarily saying that true love is just a feeling. It's more of a decision, more of a thought process, more of logic than it is just a feeling. I think the feeling of it is just byproduct. It's kind of
So
like,
so
go ahead.
well, you're putting modifiers at the beginning or at the front of that word, right? So if you say real love, true love, in love, like these are different. I think these different
Levels.
modifiers kind of adjust the definition, right?
I think
So
that there's
true love,
levels to this.
yeah, it's levels to it, right? So when you say true love, I think it encompasses a wider variety of things, a wider range of things than just in love. Because in love really can be conflated with or confused with lust.
Hmm, I don't know now.
That honeymoon phase is tricky. This is why you don't really have to do a whole lot because the mind is clouded.
Right.
That first, if you meet somebody at the club, not you, because you would never do this, but if somebody were to meet at a club and or anywhere, and and on the same night that they met, they had sex, and it was just, stars, the moon, it was out the park, right? And everything just aligned beautifully. They said the right things to each other. They could literally walk away that night or wake up together that next morning feeling like they're in love, right? I've
Those
heard
are
stories.
but that would be that artificial response.
It would be the artificial response because you ain't done nothing yet.
You ain't did nothing, right?
No sacrifices, no compromise. You ain't done nothing, but you made me feel so good, like the love songs, right? Ooh, baby,
You,
I can't eat, I ain't bathed, I ain't shaved. You ain't been through none of that yet, right? That's when you know it's starting to hit home for real, right? But I'm saying, still in that same vein, that I think sometimes that's where it gets confused,
Yeah.
and your heart is involved,
Yeah.
right? Your heart has neuron, and I mean that thing is pumping like crazy. So you really are feeling some kind of way.
Yeah.
So it can get confused.
It
I
can
think.
get a little murky. So let's take our definitions that we just talked about with love and let's bring it into a disaster. We talked about the needs that are natural because something was either innately wired in us or it was natural because of our environment. We talked about love. Now this disaster thing. This disaster means a sudden event like an accident that causes great damage or loss of life, or in this case, relationship. So is love, with all we said, is love a natural disaster or is it man-made?
Man, when I think of love, I mean in the way that it's actually supposed to happen, there are no real disasters coming out of that. But I think when you love the wrong person, or when you find yourself even loving the right person in the wrong scenario at the wrong time, right? Which would, I guess, in essence, make them the wrong person. Like loving at the wrong time or in the wrong set of circumstances can leave or can create a disaster.
Now, what would be the wrong time?
Okay. You can love somebody that's married.
Yeah.
You've seen that, right? So you catch feel, you thought it was just, a jump off thing or side piece thing. And all of a sudden feelings got involved a lot deeper than you planned. And now you in love with somebody that's not emotionally available for you like that.
Right.
That's that word, emotionally available, right? That's one of the tenets or one of the principles that's required to actually have a healthy, loving relationship. Healthy, loving relationship. You can love anybody, but for them to love you back, they have to be available, right?
Right.
So you have people in these relationships that they're loving the wrong person at the wrong time, under the wrong circumstances. That creates an emotional or a what do you call it, a natural disaster. And I say natural because it's going to create some resentment, some frustration, some disappointment, all of these ill feelings surrounded by the idea of love, right? And these feelings of resentment and frustration and anger, these are natural responses to being rejected.
Right.
So now we have a natural disaster created by what should have never been love in the first place, but it's still love.
Because we choose wrong. So if you're choosing wrong, most times we choose wrong because we haven't learned how to love relate. See, there's a difference between having love, being love, and all that love, and knowing that. But if you've never learned how to relate in the doing of love, it creates this dynamic where you choose wrong. Because you're choosing based off of the dynamic of wherever over here you learned, and if it was dysfunction, if it was toxic, if it was abusive, you have people walking around thinking that if somebody ain't being slapped upside the head, that they don't love me, or only a person that snatches me up and checks me all the time. Oh, he loved me. Ooh. Where'd that come from? That comes from that toxic environment when you've seen somebody being tossed to and fro through the house. And my daddy loved my mama because he beat the heck out of him.
Yep. He just do that because he loved me.
Yep.
I should have been where I told him I was gonna be, and then he just responded because he's so crazy about me.
Yeah, crazy in love.
Look, here's the question: can someone love you and still cheat on you? What say you?
I think so, yes.
Can someone love you? What say you, family? Can someone love you?
Let me explain my answer.
Go ahead.
The reason why is, again, it depends, because I think that love, to most people, because we have been taught to romanticize love, that's not what it is, right? Whatever you've been taught and how to love and what your love relating is your definition of it. It does not necessarily mean that it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just what your definition is. And there's a saying that says that, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So whatever you're convinced love is, that's your love. And if you feel like because there, as a matter of fact, as I was studying this, they said that men that cheat on women that they love, it's like love is like spaghetti. Okay. You can love spaghetti, but that doesn't mean that you don't want hamburgers and hot dogs. And so their thought process was, I just want a hamburger and a hot dog every now and again. Doesn't make it right, wrong, or indifferent. But that's because of whatever their environment told them that love is. And if it's dysfunctional, they're going to think that I love you, but I cheated. Now, let's go to what my core, because I'm talking about the fact that I believe that people can feel this way and still do this. I don't think that the real crux of what love truly is, because I go to the spiritual side of what love is, and most people don't operate in that. If you can love and still be unconditional, then you should not be thinking of anything and anybody else while you're doing that. Does that make sense?
Say that last line again. If what now?
So, okay. If you really love, then you're going to do everything that you can to make sure that person is happy and is good. You're doing it because you want to make sure that they are always good. You're going to always look out for the best interest of them, and cheating would go against that. So, but that's the spiritual side of things, because if you want to go the whole natural thing, we all make mistakes. We all need grace. We all fall short. All of these different things that people believe, but that's based off of what they have decided that their definition of love is.
Yeah.
Like there's studies that say that many men believe that love has to come from these big sparks, and you have to feel this thing. And if I don't feel it, then I don't love. But they're doing all these love things. What's your thought on it?
Yeah, I think that I think you can love somebody and still cheat. Again, like you said earlier, is levels to this, right? So some people love more effectively than others.
Yes.
Some people make more mistakes while loving than others. Cheating would be a mistake, right? If it's a mistake. If you are carrying on an affair, like so where it starts at is the agreement that you made in the first place. So if we have this agreement where we said, hey, this is what love means to us, not just to me, but to us, right? Forsaking all others for the sake of the union. Then that eliminates this whole conversation about we're not naturally monogamous, and so I had to step out, and the hell with all that now, because we agreed. So now it's a matter of integrity. Are you standing on your principles? Are you willing to make the sacrifices for me that you said you were willing to make for me? Because now you've defined what love is for me, right? And so now if you compromise that, if you jeopardize that, now you're jeopardizing what we've defined as love. Does that make sense?
It does, because
So
go ahead. No, I was going to say, go ahead. No, I was going to say, when you said, I liked how you said when you defined love for me, because most people come into a relationship with their definition, right? And they're just throwing their definition at each other. Most times, unless you have learned from somebody else, you know what, get you some coaching, get you some therapy, get you some premarital counseling so that you can learn how to do this. Most people do not walk into a relationship going, how do you love? How do you need me to show you love? How would you like me to, no, most people don't do that. What they do is they go in and say, hey, I'm a words of affirmation person. I don't know what you are, but I'm going to give you words of affirmation. And then when that person doesn't respond to their definition of love, then they don't love me. Because you being ungrateful. I'm always talking about how beautiful you are, how I love you, and you being ungrateful. You just want me to buy you gifts. You're a gold digger. Well, then if gifts is their love language and you just haven't figured that out, now you know. But you're looking at it as a negative thing.
So now watch this. There are some people who gifts might be their love language, but maybe in their mind, if you really love me, you'll buy me a Birkin bag or an Apple Watch, right? $500+ gifts. Whereas the person who says, okay, if gifts is your love language, I'm going to take out my time all day Saturday. I'm off Saturday. I'm going to make you a quilt with your name on it. I'm going to put your whole family tree on it. It might only cost that person $25 in materials, but it cost them 10, 12, 15 hours. That would be, I mean, man, is there anything more valuable than our time? Right? So you can get more of everything else, but you can't get more time. So that's probably the single most valuable thing that we have, or at least it ranks up there in the top 3 to 5, right? So if this person is saying, I'm going to put my time in and effort, I'm going to show them that I really, not only am I hearing what they're saying about receiving gifts, I'm going to dedicate my time to giving them the most thoughtful gift that I can come up with. And then you give it to them and they don't appreciate it.
Because you didn't spend the money.
So then is it the gift? Is it the gift that's their love language, or is it the money that's their love language?
I think that it needs to be determined first and foremost where they got that from. Did you see your dad, cuss out your mom or cheat on your mom and always bring her gifts? Is that why you thought that? Did you see your mother or your father always saying, oh, baby, you're beautiful, you did a great job? Or did you see your mother and your father spend a lot of time together and do things together, do housework together? Did you see whatever you saw is what you have learned love is? And people need to figure out, first and foremost, where their love languages come from, because we're not designed to come in and say, oh, I love you because you bought me a Birkin bag. That's just not an innate wiring. That is something that was taught, what Coach Vaun said earlier, that environmental thing.
Yeah.
So in order for you to first have healthy vision of what love really is, you need to know where you got that vision from. You need to sit down with yourself and say, you know what? How did I see love when I was growing up? Go ahead.
Iris says we love from we are where we are from we are in our relationship with ourselves. We don't take the time to define what love means to each of us individually in the context of relating. That's
basically what I was just saying. You have to know that. And it's the thing is that I'm a very strong advocate for self-esteem, but I also don't believe it came from self.
Speak on it. Go deeper.
It was planted in us, and we're supposed to nurture it from the inside. We didn't come up with the seed. The seed was planted. We just need to learn how to nurture the seed. But if we don't have a seed, or if the seed has been cracked open and then planted, is it premature? Is it damaged? Is it dysfunctional? What does that seed look like? We need to know what it looks like in a healthy manner to make sure that we're now harvesting something that's going to give us something that's worth it. And it won't be that fig tree that never produced any fruit.
So then, here's a question. Family, coach, can you love somebody if you don't love yourself first?
Absolutely no.
Absolutely no. No gray area, just no.
Because I think that you don't know what it looks like.
Family would say you agree with Coach? That's a tough one. There's a lot of I've heard a lot of intelligent discussion on both sides of that. That's a loaded one.
Let me go in a little bit deeper.
Go ahead.
If you are talking about what real healthy love looks like, healthy love, okay? Let's take out the toxin, dysfunction, all those things of what love really is, then no. But if you go back to your definition, if your love is toxic and your love is dysfunctional, you're going to love them in that manner. And is that love? Because that's your love. So are you going to be able to love them in the manner in which they need to be loved? Because if you're just throwing it and they're not able to accept it, what is that? That's one-sided. So I don't think that I don't even think that you can really be loved the way that love is designed if you don't love yourself, because you don't know what it looks like. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to go get me that Birkin bag, but you've never seen a real Birkin bag. You've just seen them. You kind of think you know what it looks like, but you're not sure if it's real authentic. You may have a knockoff and you don't even know you got a knockoff until somebody who's healthy or wealthy comes along, looks at your bag and says, that's a knockoff. But you won't know. And then guess what you're going to be? You're going to be real offended when somebody say that your bag is a knockoff, because this all you know. And you're going to ask them, how you know? What makes you the authority on what's a knockoff and what's not? What makes you the authority on what love is and what's not? Because this is all I know. How dare you tell me that I can't be in love? Well, let's determine what your vision or what your definition of that is and where it came from. Then we can determine Was it healthy? Did it produce something? Did it multiply? And was it fruitful? And if
So,
it's not, then you got to question that.
so here's two things back to back. Derek says there are some that don't know self-love, but put their all into others. Right. So here's the thing. We talked about some of these conditions of love, the compromise, the sacrifice, the thoughtfulness, all of these different things that people do when they're showing love, right? So if you have someone, and then my wife says, does a child love him or herself before they love their mother or father? I don't think so. Okay, so now in that context, and I think it's different when you're talking about paternal and maternal love versus
adults.
But as I say that, I had to check myself, because there are some parents who don't love their children, who are abusive as hell, and the child still clings and fights for what they think should be a loving exchange, right? So
But come on, stop. Pause right there for once.
Okay, go ahead.
Pause right there for 1 second. Is that love or is that survival? Because the thing is, the child doesn't know that that's love. That child has heard that voice, has been inside that woman, and and it's familiar. So what they're running to in the abusive situation is not love. They're running to what's familiar, which is why you can have somebody who is being abused as a child to run to their abuser.
What about an adult child? Let's take a person who's 25 years old, who has always longed for that thing from their mother or father. They're self-sufficient, maybe they're making however many dollars, $100,000 a year. They're doing well on their own, but there's a piece of them that they feel is still missing, right? And they call their mom or their dad as much as they can, with the phone calls rarely, if ever, being returned. They're constantly going over there and maybe getting cussed out, getting mistreated in some kind of way. I mean, these scenarios exist.
Yeah,
right?
They do.
So that person is still loving, even despite not being loved in return. So what do you think?
I still think it's about, like you said, I go to that part where I like how you said that's something that's missing. I think it's something wired in us that would make that happen. I don't think that if we talking about the context of love, now again, we go back to me saying we were wired to do that. That's how we were created by the creator. Okay. Then that would be true. But if we're battling those thoughts, then it can't be that way, because it's still environmental. You're missing something. And every human on this earth wants what they don't have. They want what they don't have. Put them in an environment and give them everything, they're going to reject it. Give them, you can give a person $1 million and they got a broken toy over in the corner and you're telling them that they cannot have it. They're going to fight you and take everything that they have, give it up for that little broken toy because they can't have it.
Here's a great question. Do men need love more than women?
No.
Now, so I love this question because, again, some of my favorite pastors that I used to listen to from back in the day, Dr. Miles Monroe is one of them. He said, women need love, men need respect. And there are a lot of people who echo those sentiments, right? Men need respect, women need love. And the Bible tells men to love your wives, right? But it never tells the wives to love your husband. So they use all these different ideas that undergird their idea that men need respect, but not love, and women need love, but not respect. And some of them even go so far as to say, Aretha Franklin, remember she wrote that song, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, right? And they say she was wrong. She had it wrong. She was operating in her masculine, because women don't need respect, they need love. Here's what I say to that. And I talked about this before a couple times on this show, where there was a study done back in the early 1900s where they had babies in a nursery, and I think it was like 15, 20 babies. And the nurses were given strict instructions to only feed and change the infants, right? Don't hug them, don't talk, no baby talking, no coddling, no cooing, none of that stuff. Just feed them, change them, put them back down. Within a very short period of time, I forget what the time frame was, but about 80% of those babies died.
Mm-hmm.
Just the females who need love? Nope. Male children died too, right? So this thing we call love includes affection, nurturing, right? Talking to, being involved with intimately. And intimately ain't just about sex. Intimacy is closeness also, right? So that's a long way of answering the question that do men need love? Do women need love more than men? And the answer is emphatically no. We just need it in different ways.
Right.
And I think part of the problem, one of the biggest problems that we're having with relationships right now, is that men and women have been tricked into thinking that we're so very different. But the reality is we all want the same things. We all have the same needs. The difference is we want them in varying degrees. So respect might not be as high a priority on my wife's list, but it doesn't mean that she wants to be disrespected. She still needs to be respected, honored, appreciated. I still need those things. I might not need this feeling of love. I might not need her to tell me how much she loves me as much as I, I appreciate the fact that she shows me that she respects me. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to be loved, right? So we all have the same basic needs: security, safety, feelings of wanting to contribute, wanting to love, wanting to have someone to love. We all want the same things. We just have different orders of priority that we place them in, not different scales. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think that the only reason why their order of those certain things are different is, again, with the raising, is the things that we've been taught. You know, boys, girls have been taught, go get your baby doll, go love, hold on the baby, squeeze the baby, tell your baby I love you. And the boys have been told, go over there and play with that toy and you better not cry. Go over there and get that truck. You know, girls, you know, you get up and you get out of school and you get you know, all these different things we've been taught differently.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that that's the only reason why there's levels to where those things are labeled at. But to me, respect is love. You respect me, that means you're showing love to me, because you have to honor, you have to treat me kind, you have to be affirming, you have to do all of these things that I believe that love is in order for you to love me. And all of that has to do with the same things that the man wants. It's really no different, like you said. But a lot of people think it's different because of how we've been raised. It's really about the raising. It's about what we teach our children growing up. And if you, which is why, yeah, I'm gonna leave that part of the okay. So so how do you believe that people learn? Because there's two ways to learn love relating.
Okay.
According to, you know, some of the study that I've done. There is the learning as in the raising, and then the learning as in purposely studying and doing things like seeing, you know, our show and reading books and all of those types of things. What's your thought on that?
You know, I think the biggest factor is environment. You know, reading is one thing. I think those things kind of add to the cake, maybe even the icing on the cake, the different things that you might learn. But your environment, your culture, your peers, I think those things are what essentially makes the cake. The icing, adding icing to the cake, or the cherry on top, is the different things that you might pick up along the way. So, and here's one reason I say that is because emotions are more powerful than logic. I'm gonna say that again. Emotions are more powerful than logic. This is why I take exception to when people say men are logical and women are emotional. It's nonsense. We're all logical beings we're all emotional beings with varying degrees of expressing logic, right? So the way your culture shapes you, the way your family environment and your peer group shapes you is not just a logical thing, it's a matter of feeling. They set these cultural boundaries of what's acceptable versus what's not acceptable. How you treat others, right? And so if disrespect is something that's welcome in your culture, like in ours, right? We see hip hop and you see women on TV doing all kinds of foul things. You hear men on records saying all kinds of foul things. We have a culture that is unfortunately rife with disrespect for each other, right? And so these are shaping tools. And you have a lot of people out here interacting with each other based on these entertainment values or the valueless entertainment. It's probably a better way of saying it,
Right.
right? So again, I say that's a long way of saying I think that culture is the biggest piece. And culture includes your upbringing in your home first and foremost, and then secondly, it branches out to your community, and that's the shaping mechanism. And then as you go on and you start learning 5 love languages, you can add that to it, and then you can, how to love a black man and how to love a black woman. You got all these different books out here that you can add to that, and that just kind of helps maybe shape or fine tune what you were inundated with from a cultural perspective. What say you?
I agree. I think that I think it really has to do with a lot of environmental stuff in the raising and the shaping. I think that once we understand that, then we can see how each of our partners, how our children, how our friends, what their environment is. We can dig into that and care about how their environments were for us to determine why they respond to our love or why they want us to respond to them in love the way that they do. Because one of the major things I think that people fall out with is that there's a lack of understanding because everybody's looking to be understood versus looking to understand. So if I'm trying to understand, wait a minute, this is not working out, every time I talk to my friend, time I talk to my brother Vaun, we always bumping heads. Why? What is it that I need to do a little bit differently so that I can show him the respect and honor or whatever, and vice versa? But more people than not are too busy trying to get their point across, too busy trying to say, I want to show you how I want to show you, versus trying to figure out how I can show you based off of how you receive it easier. So it's still environmental. And the only way we're going to be able to understand each other for real, is to do more studying of each other. That's especially in your relationships. If you're not studying your partner and trying to figure out who they are and why they love the way they love, you're going to fail every time because our environment has told us to romanticize love. And love is not about the romanticism. It's just not. It is a decision that we make to then do what we said we do.
Yep. The romanticism is, look, the way you treat each other, the way you interact with one another, that's your cake.
Yeah.
The romanticism is just the icing on it. How well you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How are you buying her flowers? Is she getting you a new pair of socks on Father's Day? Whatever y'all do for us.
Right.
So how you interact, that romantic part is just, again, the icing on the cake. I'm glad you highlighted that. I was going to that.
Yeah.
Do a woman take advantage of a man knowing that man is in love with her and love her?
I don't think that she naturally okay, let me say this. There are just some bad people, but I don't think that the majority of people are bad. I think that there's just some sprinkles of bad people. Y'all always saying something. Some sprinkles of some bad people, but I think that the majority of people are good. So I naturally don't think that women are going in, oh, he loved me, let me take advantage. No.
Yeah, I think that's a people thing. You have some people out here that are opportunistic.
Yeah.
And it transcends gender lines, right? You have men out here who are opportunistic and will take advantage and abuse a woman's kindness and generosity just as much as you have women out here. Now, I don't know what the proportion is, but I do know that it happens on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why, look, we it goes back to culture for me, right? And we don't have, every other culture has a factory that they're producing husbands and wives from,
Right.
right? They have cultural ceremonies and celebrations, and let them know where where they hit these benchmarks on the path toward manhood and the path toward womanhood. For men or for boys, it's called a rites of passage. For girls, I forget what it's called. I know you guys have what, like quinceañeras and coming of age parties and things like that. So
Sweet
these different
16s.
Sweet 16. And so in our culture, though, we're not producing husbands and wives. We're just turning out adults who are trying to find their own way. So by the time you're 18, you grown, can't nobody tell you nothing, but ain't
Right.
nobody told you really how the most important aspect of your life, which is how to intimately interact with your complementary sex,
Right.
right? So to that point, no, men and women, nobody's abusing anybody. I don't think anybody's abusing at a greater disproportion than another. I think the one thing that we need to be looking for uh, as a foundational piece in our relationship is high character and high integrity, rather than a fat wallet or a fat ass.
Right.
And I think too often that's what we're looking for. We're looking at these superficial. You know how many dudes I've heard say, "Yo, she fly. That's wifey right there." No, it ain't. She for the she for the streets, bruh.
She for the streets.
And a lot of times, look, a lot of times women look at these dudes. Oh, he's 6'3", he got a BMW,
He
six
for the
pack ass.
streets.
She think he hung like a horse. Oh, that's hubby, right? I'm just saying.
And that's what I was gonna say. The thing is, most people, they think they have these standards because they're floating around in their head. But how many of y'all that's watching right now, tell just with the number one that you have standards, number two, you've actually sat down and wrote them down. You got standards. Everybody gonna put the one. But how many of y'all have sat down with yourself and thought about and wrote down exactly what you want out of a mate? Most people haven't, because they think that it's remedial. Why should I do that? I'm grown. I know what I want. But then when you're presented with what you want and it don't show up the right way that you want it to, now you mad. Now you like, oh, see, they wasn't even right for me, man. No, you didn't know what you want. So when it showed up and it looked like it had the fat butt and all that other pretty stuff, then you like, why I keep choosing the wrong person? Because you don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Because you haven't sat down with yourself and figured that thing out. Look at Yarley Thompson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Look, you can actually. I've known people who, now this is from the outside looking in, right? Because you can't determine how somebody else made somebody else feel. All you know is what they tell you.
Right.
But I've seen scenarios from my eyes, it looks like the right person showed up. Like, man, that's your soulmate. Sis, it don't get no better than that for you. And they ruin that relationship. What I'm saying is, if you don't have the components that it takes to be a whole you and present a healthy version of yourself, bring your healthiest version, not even just the healthiest, but a healthy version of yourself, starting mentally, right? Mentally and emotionally. If you're not emotionally fit, psychologically and mentally fit, never mind the physical fit, that's part of it too. But when you show up to these relationships and you're not ready, your soulmate can show up and you will ruin that relationship too. And this is what a lot of people are doing, because so much of what this culture promotes is that we look good rather than to be good. So we got man, don't nobody dress fly than us, right? We got the nicest cars, we got the nicest clothes, crib laid, right? We got all of the superficial stuff, but man, who needs therapy more than we do?
Right.
Right? We need healing in the worst way. Even some of the brightest minds. Look, I've seen some of the most intelligent people commit to some of the most nonsensical ideas. And you can look, if you take an intelligent mind and commit them to an idea that doesn't make sense, you can't tell the difference between them and an idiot. Right? So becoming emotionally healthy. This is why Coach Michela and myself, this is why we're in this space doing what we do, because we're heavily invested in the healthy expressions of love that are in our community, and we look forward to helping people get on that path. It's a lot of us, man. We are struggling terribly, and not just us. I mean, America is a cesspool, man. Like they don't call this the second Babylon for nothing, right? So Americans in general, but our focus is where it is, right? It just is what it is, and so who we're talking to is who we're talking to, and we are struggling terribly.
Yeah. Daisy says, I didn't write it down, but sure had hundreds of conversations in my head about what I wanted in a husband and a family. And the thing, one, we know Desi is an anomaly.
She's an outlier, man. She ain't changed. She ain't changed since I met her when I was 12. She ain't changed.
She is an anomaly, okay? She is the Harriet Tubman of wives. You heard me? Yeah. Okay, so this is the thing. Most people come in, see, they met when they were young, which means there was no baggage. They had family baggage, but not relational.
Yeah. Little bit,
so any baggage, and correct me if I'm wrong, any baggage that they had together. But you take these adults who have tumbled through relationships. They have, it's kind of like you got this tree of relationships, and this leaf will fall out. They'll hold on to that leaf. That leaf will fall out. They'll hold on to that. So they just holding on to things that's falling with no real grasp of what they want, because they're taking pieces of what they didn't want and trying to flip them. There's a totally different thing to saying, I want someone that loves and respects me, than saying, I don't want nobody that don't respect me. It may sound the same, but it's not. That's because right. All you're doing is fueled by the negative of what you don't want. You need to learn what you do want. I'm not saying ignore what you don't want, but you need to know on the positive side of what you're strongly looking for and not what you're not. Because this is the thing, what you focus on is what you'll get. If you keep saying, I don't want nobody that's doing, he can't, and they bet not, that's what you're going to keep getting. But if you say, I want someone that when they see me, they smile. I want someone that when they're out and about and they're on their way home and they're hungry, that they think of me. I want someone that when we are together, that they look at me like I was the best thing. Those are what you're doing when you're talking about the things that you want. But when you say, I don't want nobody that can't spend no time with me. Okay. They have to work. And then when they work, then you're like, well, they're not spending enough time. Well, don't they got to work? Because you haven't pinpointed exactly what you do want. Yeah. And that's what I mean about the whole taking the time to unravel all the junk that you have had out of relationships and figure out exactly what you want so that you can pinpoint that and key in on that. We attract. The laws of attraction are absolute. I don't care what you believe, reaping and sowing, laws of attraction, spiritual versus the Holy Spirit. The laws of this universe are absolute. Keep talking about what you don't want. You're going to keep getting that. Talk more about what you do want. That's what you'll get.
Wow. Heavy. That's a whole sermon right there.
I'm all
no, I like it. To your point about baggage, like like we all show up with some baggage, even at the youngest age, because especially as so-called black people, I like to call us the indigenous Americans myself, but I digress. We all show up with a certain level of baggage because society has been saturating you with it from the time you could first hear the radio or turn the TV on, right? So there's a lot to overcome, even by the time we even reach maturity and we're ready to date. Here's an example of that. I'll just use, well, black woman, black female, black male, right? The black female is the only female that has been marketed, this idea has been marketed to her that she's naturally not good enough from the start. That means your hair ain't, you got to get your hair done, right? Most other cultures, they can, they just put their hair in a ponytail or whatever and they go out, right? But a black woman, an indigenous woman has to do something to her hair. And this is why we arrive at this place where everybody's focusing on the bonnet, right? Oh, you wearing the bonnet. So, but everything is cause and effect, right? Nothing happens in a vacuum. So you have to ask yourself, why is she wearing a bonnet? What is it about her that she would rather wear a bonnet, which society has written off as trashy, right? But why would she rather wear a bonnet than to go out in her natural hair like the Asian girl would, or like the Mexican girl would, or like the white girl would? Why wouldn't she just go out in her natural, like, hey, I don't feel like doing it. Let me just put a little rubber band on here and I'm out, right? Why won't she do that? And it's because her most natural self, according to societal standards, is ugly, right? And so this is the baggage that she shows up to the relationship with, for the most part. Like some people don't get hit with that rock, but for the most part, look, I was just talking to my wife just the day before yesterday, and she had this doll called Dancerino, right, Desi? I think it was Dancerino or Dancerella or something like that. And if you remember back in the 70s, I think they do it a little different now, but the female baby dolls, they came in black and white, right? They still do, but the difference then, though, the facial features would be the exact same on the white doll as it would on the black doll. The only difference is they would spray paint the black doll and make it whatever color shade of brown or black. She said Dancerella. Okay, so the facial features would be exactly the same. One would just be dipped in chocolate. The other one would be left peach or pale color, right? Her grandmother, listen to me good, family. The psychological implications of what we're dealing with run so deep. My wife's grandmother would say, look, my wife didn't want anyone other than the dark one. She always wanted the black one. She's 5-6 years old. I want the black one. Her grandmother always wanted the white one. So they had two dolls side by side, identical, with the exception of the complexion, right? Eyes the same, ears the same, lips, nose, everything is exactly the same except for the complexion. And her grandmother would say, ain't this one so much prettier than yours? Ain't my doll so much prettier than that black doll that you have? And my wife would always say, well, no, I like the dark one. I like the black one. Her grandmother was hell bent on getting her to see that the white one was prettier. Now, I'm not faulting her grandmother. Society conditioned her to be the way that she was. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about with this cultural shaping effect that we have. And so when our women go outside in the bonnet, it's not just because she wants to be tacky or trashy. Her natural self is, in her mind, less appealing than this bonnet that you think is so ugly. Other women ain't wearing a bonnet because they're okay with their natural self. They haven't been beat across the head since they were 3 and 5 and 7 years old with this idea that you ugly until you get these enhancements done, whether it's lashes or hair done, permed, braided, or whatever it is, right? So I'm saying all that in on the path to saying this. Part of what it means to love our masculine and feminine complement is to understand what their life experience is. It's going to be hard as hell to love her through that if you don't understand just how deep that psychological stain runs. This is a 5-year-old girl that you're talking about. The formative years are what, the first 5-7 years, right? She's already who she is by the time she's 5 years old, emotionally, psychologically, right? That programming is set. And then she meets you at 18, 19, 25, 30 years old, and you talking about, whatever it is that you're talking about. And it goes the opposite direction too. I mean, look, brothers, we ain't off the hook. Our hair ain't naturally wavy, right? We got the do-rag and the heavy grease, and we trying to slick that stuff down. That ain't your natural hair, bro. Your natural hair got some freedom fighters in it too, right? Them tight curls, right? Our hair look like that too. But a lot of us, we have to overcome, some of those same psychological implications too, because we ain't trying to look most of us ain't trying to rock our hair like that with just that. Give me that Dax, give me that Murray, give me that heavy stuff. And then we put that do-rag on there and smash it down real good so our hair look like silk, like the white boys, right? I'm just saying, fam. We all got psychological stains, not just the female.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. Bernard Brown says, is black love different than white love?
So I'm going to say at the core of what it means to love somebody, it's the same thing. We have different hurdles. We have different obstacles than other cultures have. And what I just went on that long diatribe about, that 5-minute spiel about hair and skin color, like those are some of our hurdles. Some of us don't have to overcome those hurdles. My wife didn't care nothing about being brown skinned. She always loved that. I didn't have no problem with her being brown skinned. I've always loved that. So, but many of us, you don't know how many brothers I've heard say they want a red bone, something yellow and thick, right? She dark, got no use for her. Like, so in that context, I'm saying black love is different because we have different hurdles, different obstacles to overcome when it comes to finding that harmonious place of complementary based or complementarity based love.
Yeah, I agree.
You better agree.
And he says, let's see, I'm trying to go to someone that can't we sit kind of tickets. It was something I want to stop at.
Until you find it, I'm gonna put that up there. Antonio said, to me, it's a cultural difference. Yeah, that's it. There are cultural differences.
Yeah. So,
but you want the same. You still want the same
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a human thing. I think love is more of a human thing.
Yeah, no question.
It's just because I mean, going real quick. When we were talking about the differences in the hair, like I grew up in a lot of different places because we moved around. Okay. I remember my Filipino friend, who's like a sister to me now, talking about her hair and how she hated it. And I'm sitting there going, your hair is beautiful. I remember hearing the white girls in there talking about different things. So I just think that we know our culture because we know our culture. I think that ultimately, many of the cultures go through some of the same things. I remember 2-3 years ago, before I moved, more like 3 years ago, before I moved to Georgia, sitting at a bowl, getting my feet done with a Korean woman who just began to pour out her whole life to me and tell me that her husband had 5 wives. So she was talking about, he cheating on me, he taking my money. And the way she was rolling that neck, talking about him doing these things to her, I was like, that sounds a little familiar, So in that moment, it made me understand that what I call my black things I go through are just because that's what I live. It doesn't mean that other people aren't necessarily going through it. We understand that black people have gone through some things, slavery and all these different racism things that we go through, but I'm talking about relational. I think that we all go through the same stuff.
Yep.
White cultures got dudes out there playing. How do I know? Because I study a lot of the books that they write. You know, they got women out there that's gold diggers.
You better
You
believe
know,
it.
so I don't think that it has anything to do with that. I want to go here. Antonio Hunter says, if I can make someone happy, I can feel the love. What are your thoughts about that, brother?
So let me say this, and I don't mean this to be contrarian, or just to contradict, but I will say that I don't think you can make someone happy.
Right.
I think you can add joy to their lives, right? Our job isn't, because happiness is an inside job. I'm responsible for my own happiness and weeding those things out of my life that compromise my happiness. So my job isn't to make so much to make my wife happy. My job is to bring joyous moments to her life, right? Her job is to maintain the core of what it means to be happy, to be grounded and centered in a healthy enough mind state where things don't compromise her so much that she lives in an existence of unhappiness, that she resides in a state of perpetual unhappiness. So I don't think we can make someone happy, or we can make somebody, we can do things that compromise their ability to, you know, be joyous, I think. But happiness, I think that, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that if you can come into somebody's life and not make it worse, that's the only thing that you should be focused on.
Yeah,
You
it should
should
be
be
an
able to
add-on.
make, you should be an addition to their life. But
Yeah,
this thing goes into what he said later when he says, I can't make someone do for me, so I'm alone but not lonely. And that's because you are looking for someone to love you the way that you love.
yeah,
You like doing for people, and you can't get them to do the same thing because you're loving them the way that you love. That may not necessarily be how the person that you've connected with loves. So it's going to always look to you because you have to communicate to them. Doing for me, cooking, cleaning, my laundry, whatever that doing is how I feel loved. And doing for them, you have to then find out what their love language is so that you can, that's why it won't balance.
and it gets a little harder as we get older too. We tend to become more rigid, less flexible, more set in our ways, and less willing to compromise, right? So, like Coach just mentioned a few minutes ago, how my wife and I started real young. I was 16. We got married right out of high school. So, we basically spared each other a lot of the relationship drama that so many people have by the time they reach 25, 35, 40 years old. So all of our drama is in-house, so to speak,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we can resolve that a whole lot easier. So that the in the ways that I might have been acting like a jackass when I was 21, I can reconcile that because I know the origin of that behavior. So when we talk about it today, I can say, man, here's why I was acting that way. Like, but if somebody else would have mistreated her in a relationship at 21, it's harder for me to explain what he might have been thinking, what his childhood might have been, what might have contributed to him showing up as a jackass in a relationship versus me showing up as a jackass. So I'm saying that to say this: people like to tell our young boys to sow your wild oats, go out there and have some experiences. And I understand that thought, but I'm saying the longer you wait, the harder it is,
Yeah.
right? If you can find somebody that's worth being serious with, because these high integrity, high character people, they get harder and harder to find as you get older because they have
Rare.
more scars.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the same thing for females. Right now, our women are being taught, girl, don't depend on no man. Go out there and get your education so you can take care of yourself. Look, ladies, your education is plan B. Plan A is not your BS or your PhD. Plan A is your MRS.
Right.
Right. Finding yourself this is just my 2 cents. You take it for what it's worth, like it or lump it. But I say, as you're in college, you should be looking to find somebody of high character, high integrity that you can spend your life with,
Yeah.
right? So that, because I'm telling you, that's going to be your barrier against all of this insanity that's coming your way if you don't find that when you're in college. It's tough.
Yeah.
25, 35, 40, man, trying to find it at later stages, it just becomes more difficult.
Yeah. The thing is that people don't understand, and this is why it's difficult when you come in with the relationship baggage from multiple people versus what Coach Vaun and his wife has experienced. It takes for one breach in your life, I don't care what it is, be it a heartbreak, be it a lie, be it a break, whatever, break in trust, for one, you're going to have 17 more items that will balance out that one. So one bad thing happened to you, you need 17 more good things to happen to you before this breaks down. So if you got, and this is why people going into this relationship and don't get healed, they just going from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, and now they've got all this baggage, they can't figure out why. Because you haven't taken the time to break down all the stuff that you went through, clear it out, then come over here healed and whole. You're not going to be 100%, but as close to that as you possibly can, to then bring in yourself so that you can now relate to that person in a whole in a healthy way. And that's because you got all this baggage. But if you don't have the relational baggage, then you have a better chance, which is why what I think that Antonio said about somebody said about people getting married young. Where is that at? You saw that?
Saw it, yeah, bro.
He said something about everybody that he knew married young are still together. I can't find it right now. But
go ahead, my fault.
But when to just go back to what Coach Vaun says, when you purpose, because we were created for a purpose. We were not here. All the good things and the love and the sex and the getting the bag and having the wealth and all of these things are bright byproducts of what we were sent here purpose to do. When you get on your purpose to be fruitful and multiply, all of those things come out. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all things shall be added to you. What were you sent here for? You were sent here to be fruitful and multiply. When you're fruitful and multiply, guess what happens? You get wealth, you get prosperity, you get good health, because again, we always talk about 85 to 90% of your overall success in life is highly dependent upon your personal relationship. So you get all of those things when you find purpose in relating and not thinking that I'm just going to be by myself, because now we can go back and forth with we talked about this too earlier, Vaun, about, when you get to a certain age and you already got kids, you've been married before, is it kind of the same type of thing? I still think that there's purpose. Get in your purpose, find the person that you can purpose with, and then watch your life flourish. Watch it.
That whole purpose conversation has become so cliche, right? And so a lot of people think that your purpose is synonymous with getting the bag. So much so that now the bag has become the purpose at the expense of family, right? So we got a bunch of people out here making a whole lot of money, but not a whole lot of healthy relationships.
Nope.
Right? And so if it's true, like when these scientists theorize that as much as 90 to 95% of your overall happiness can be attributed to how well you're doing in your intimate relationships, if that's true, then that healthy relationship is going to weigh more heavily on your life than how much money you make. It doesn't mean that money is not important. I get that. We still got to do things. You know what I mean? We still got to have the things that we need to sustain ourselves. But you can find somebody that makes $500,000 a year and they're miserable because they lack the healthy relationships. Meanwhile, you can find a couple that together they make $60,000 a year, and man, they
this is beautiful bliss.
Right? Ask me how I know, right? Right. So I'm just saying, that bag cannot be the substitute for what is ultimately most important, and that's the human connection, man.
It is.
Healthy relationships.
It is. So Bernard says most young girls say they wanted a man like their daddy. Is that good or bad? Well, it depends if she know what her daddy looked like.
And it's not just about look, people might forget what you did. They might forget what you said. Maya Angelou said they'll never forget how you made them feel. Right? So her daddy, a young girl's first interaction with how she's to be treated by the complementary sex, by the masculine persuasion, is her interaction with her father. Yep. So if her father made her feel like a princess, made her feel golden, right? Just because a good father, all he wants to do is see his daughter win. He don't want nothing else from her. He just wants to see her win. He wants to see her do well in life and just thrive, right? So when she's saying she wants a man like her daddy, she wants to feel secure enough. This is what she's saying. Translation: I want to be in a relationship with a man that just wants to see me win.
Yes.
Just wants the best for me. Wants to see me do well, wants to contribute to my happiness, wants to make me feel good about myself. That's all she's saying.
That's it.
Now
that's how my daddy is. My daddy was a provider, and he provided by any means necessary. He would work 2 and 3 jobs, and I didn't equate that to the material things. I equated that to I have a secure house. I got a roof over my head. I have food on the table. Whatever I needed, I had.
Yep.
That's what, you know what I'm saying? So you're absolutely right in that. So, but going to his point, it can be good and it can be bad depending on what her daddy looked like to her.
Yeah. Real rap.
If her dad was absent, and because we're gonna naturally, this is the thing, we're gonna naturally seek that out, even without us consciously knowing it.
But she's talking about the point he said. He wants somebody that's like, most girls say they want a man like their daddy. Is that good or bad? When a girl says I want a man like my daddy, she's not talking about the bad parts. Not typically. Typically she's saying, I want a man that made me feel good the way made me feel cared for, protected, secure, like my daddy made me feel.
And I get that, but she still attracts herself to her daddy.
I won't argue that. I think in some ways here's some ways that can be bad, because some fathers spoil their daughters. So if he buying her, if all she got to do is ask and it shall be given, he spoiled her. Now, some people think spoiling is cute, but when you think of spoiled fruit, don't nobody want spoiled fruit. So brothers, if you spoiling your daughter, sisters, if you're spoiling your son, you're making him or her undesirable to who they ultimately are supposed to be with. You don't want to spoil your son or your daughter. You want to treat them well, right? You want them to arrive. Look, the journey from childhood to adulthood, that's exactly what it is. It's a journey. You want them to arrive at that destination healthy and ready to love and ready to be loved.
Right.
That's ultimately what it is, because you're not just raising a child, you're raising somebody else's husband, somebody else's father, somebody else's wife, somebody else's mother. You're raising your children ultimately for someone else. And if you want to go back to our cultural way, you're raising your child is your contribution to the community.
Absolutely.
Right now, we look at our children in many ways, we look at them as ornaments, adornment. Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I would like a child. Like a keychain, right? Oh man, look at that Ford F-150. I want that on my keychain. We add children to our lives in many ways, like we add things to our lives. But your child is your contribution to the community. That's what it's supposed to be for.
Which is why men don't, and I'm gonna say this in this only way I know how to say it. Stop saying that you don't want your daughter to, I want her to be, she on punishment until she turned 30. or you know what, she better not start dating until she's 25. Or when women, stop trying to control what type of woman that your son is with. This is how you can do that, with trying without saying it. Because the more you say it, the more they're going to go towards what you don't want them to. Again, if we focus on what you don't want, you're going to get what you don't want. Rather than trying to control them in the youth of when they should be finding love, because it should be okay. And I was taught not to do this, or even didn't want my kids to do this, but it should be okay for you to start teaching your children how to be relatable with the opposite sex around 16 years old, 15, 16, or whenever they mature enough. Why? Because if you try to hold them off and tell them, don't you get into no relationship till you're 25, you're setting them up for failure. You're setting them up to go after something that they haven't been created for. Let them find somebody that complements them. You know, I'm gonna say the word wrong, okay? That they have the complementarianness. You know, I'm gonna say it wrong. Complementarianness. And then let them find that person that they can come together with, and then get the bag. Because when we teach them the opposite way, we teach them wrong. And then they learn. So then they 30 years old talking about my clock is ticking. No, we teach them wrong. We teach them how to be somebody's husband or wife.
We're waiting too long to get into these relationships, for sure. Antonio Hunter said, men want someone like their mother to cook and clean for them. So that's a very similar aspect as what I was saying about the father and the daughter. When men say they want somebody like their mother, it's not just about the cooking and the cleaning. Those are the acts, right? But the ultimate idea is that we want a woman who's nurturing. And caring and loving. Like, we want to feel secure the same way the woman wants to feel, in the same idea that the woman wants to feel secure. We just want it expressed in different ways. Like, I don't need my woman to go out here and make money for me so that I can feel secure at home. I got that part. What I need her to do is to nurture in different ways. Like, I love the fact that when I come home, there's dinner ready. I love the fact that if my throat feels a little scratchy, she might say, "Oh, you want some tea?" Like, she caters or nurtures to whatever it is that she thinks I need. I appreciate that from her. And that's the same things, or those are some of the things that my mother would have done as a little boy. Right. So again, it's not so much, people like to flip it and make it about this Oedipus complex. That's that crazy European nonsense. We ain't on that. Right.
The thing about this is that we have to keep in mind that as women, when we're looking for our father, and men looking for our mother, as children, we didn't have to do anything to get our mother to be our mother. We didn't have to do anything to get our father to be our father. The difference is, women, when a woman is looking for her father, she wants to do these things, or she wants him to be this provider and all these things. But then some of these women feel like they don't have to do anything in return, and vice versa. If you want that, you're going to have to resemble something that's going to attract that. So if you want someone nurturing and loving, how do you create an environment for that woman to make sure that she's nurturing and loving? How do you create an environment for that man, for him to be a provider? You can't be nagging and tagging on him every time he come in because of these little things that he didn't do that you think he should have been doing, for him to go out and provide, because he shouldn't have to fight outside and then fight inside. Or she shouldn't have to be nurturing all while you're belittling her and not watering her with nurturing, with loyalty and stuff yourself. So you got to know that you can't come in as the child looking for these things and attributes from your parents and do nothing. You have to do something.
In short, if they're not inspired to do those things for you,
thank you, brother.
right? If they're not inspired, there has to be something about me and what it is that I'm bringing to the proverbial table that keeps my wife's fire lit, that keeps her inspired about showing up in my life the way that I appreciate her showing up. She's not going to do that just based on some sense of duty, right? Some people may, right? But that's an aberration. That's an anomaly. People have to be inspired. They have to have, you have to give them something to look forward to, something to feel good about, right? I'm not showing up in her life just in those same ways just because of some sense of duty. She has to do something to make me feel good about showing up in her life that way. Is there a certain sense of duty? Absolutely. We both feel that, right? But to do it with a smile though, right? Because I like when I come home, she'd be like, hey, baby, you know what I'm saying? That means I'm doing something that makes her feel good about our arrangement. Right. And I think people are overlooking that part. People, there's this narrative going around now where people are saying, oh, well, it's not about love, it's about duty. Kinda, right? Kinda, because there is a sense of duty there. But I'm telling you, if you have somebody in your life that isn't happy about being with you, who doesn't look forward to seeing you, because you're not giving them something to look forward to. Come on, man. We're in a culture now where how you make me feel is just as important as anything else, right? So
if they don't feel it, and again, we talked earlier about love being a feeling and love being a doing. You can do all you want to. If that other person does not feel that, you're not communicating it effectively. You're not relaying it to the other person in the manner in which it needs to be relayed. And if you're not doing that, guess what's going to happen? They're not going to feel loved.
Yeah. Well,
so this is good. We've been on for an hour and 40 minutes almost.
Let me drop this in the chat. That's our link to our show. Y'all make sure y'all go to YouTube and hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube page, man.
Yes, please do. Make sure that you are liking and following us on all social media platforms. Vaun Love Alchemist on all social media platforms. Coach Michelamonè the same, and ATR All Things Relevant. Also, we are sponsored. Pull your book up, man.
Yeah, man, where my book at? Sponsorship efforts going on around here. Where my book?
Hold on a minute. Well, I don't have no book around.
I go first since you ain't ready. Today's show has been brought to you in part by the Heartwork book, 31 Days to Mastering Your Relationship. This is a book that me and my wife read. I'm sorry, I'm just playing. We wrote this book. Me and my wife wrote this book together. This is a compilation of our 31 years worth of experience. Was it 32 years now? Yeah. Something like that, 33. We've been together for a long time, but that's a compilation of our years together that we put in the book to be helpful to other couples. So there it is.
And if you're looking for some confidence boosters and how to get your confidence back, Rejection Saved My Life, written by yours truly, Michelamonè. You can find this on my website. He's going to put that in. You can also find his book on his website. He'll put that in as well. Make sure that you are following us on our YouTube page. We're trying to get those likes up, y'all, so we can get our own URL. Y'all go over there and subscribe to our page. Hit that red bell so that you can get any notifications of anything that we're going to be doing. Is what right?
Okay, making sure I put your name in there, spelled it in there right. All right.
You did. And so make sure, listen, this is the thing. Before y'all go, we are going on sabbatical.
We're going to take a little time off.
We've
been going hard for a year and some change.
Yeah.
We'll probably take about 60 days off.
Yeah.
Couple months. So we're going to run some reruns through here for y'all, you know, some of the old shows, but we're going to take a little time off, restructure, and we're going to bring y'all something back new and improved, even better.
Yes. You know, we have not been running like most network and broadcast seasons have been running. They've run 8 months. We have run, this is now our 13th month that we have run, and we did not stop. Here and there, we'd have emergencies, but we have been here with you all for close to 60, I can't think of the word, broadcast.
Consecutive?
Huh?
Consecutive? Is that the word you're thinking about?
No, I was gonna say the show. We have
Okay.
show. Duh. We
Yeah.
have run close to 60 shows. Okay, nonstop. Okay, every now and again, like I said, we've had an emergency, but we need to go in and make sure that we are giving you everything that we can offer you all, because this is what we do. So we want to make sure that you all are getting us refreshed and make sure that we're coming here on fire for you all. So we're gonna, take back and get some refreshing, and then come back. And so y'all look for us. The first Monday of November is when we will be back.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you want us to be able to speak on, you want us to prepare shows for, please email us at harmony@hisandherperspective.com. If you want to make sure that we are what's the word? You want to donate to our show, because this show costs us money. We're not just doing it for free. We're coming here on here for free, but we cost us to do this show. So we are going to go back and make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we're giving you the best us that we possibly can give you, in the same manner in where we're doing. So if you have any show ideas that you want us to present, email us at harmony@hisandherperspective.com. Or if you something that you have on your heart that you want us to deal with, if you want us to coach you, you can reach us both at harmony@hisandherperspective.com. If you want him, or you want me, you want us both together, we don't care. All we really want is you to get some help in your relationships and things of that sort.
That's it. That's it.
So let's see. What am I gonna do on Mondays? I don't know.
Yeah, we gonna have to run some reruns. Yarley has been here every single show. I don't think he missed one, or if he has, it's only been maybe one. But
yeah, I don't think he has.
We appreciate you.
Yes, we do. And so, who else said that? She said that she'll see us. She'll see y'all when we come enjoy our vacation. You always welcome on America After Dark with Bernard Brown. Feel you much love. Yeah, you may see us on different shows. We welcome anybody that wants to bring us on our show during this time on their show. Reach out to us. We have no problem with that. We are not stopping what we do. We just want to make sure that the His and Her Perspective show is full.
Yeah. Bernard, do me a favor, man, and drop the link to your show in the chat. Uh-oh.
That was me. I told you I'm having
That's okay. No worries.
So
Yeah, Bernard,
thank you so much, CC, for watching with us. Thank you so much for everybody. I see Eric over here who stopped in. Thank you so much. Eric, thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Yardley. Thank you, Desi. We thank you so much, all of you all. Antonio, we want to say hi to all of you all. Iris, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Who else? Did we miss anybody?
If we missed you, charge it to our head, not our heart. We love y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you. You want to close us out, brother?
Yo! You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with us. And for that, we are eternally thankful. We love y'all, fam.